Hey guys, today I'm going to show you the third installment of the Robert Saltsman Collection. And while so far all the guns have been pretty rare and absolutely beautiful, I have to admit, this group today is among my favorites. Okay, here is today's grouping, and the exciting part of this is I've got some really nice Krieghoffs to show you, but I'm going to start with an early gun. This is a model 1902. Now, you remember on the video I did on the long barrels, those were mostly early. This is the only early gun, DWM American Eagle, but this is an American Eagle fat barrel. Actually, calling it fat is not politically correct anymore, so we're going to call it big boned. This is a big boned Luger because it's in 9mm, model 1902. It does have the grip safety, no stock. It comes with a you'd think selling these guns, I could afford a better glove, but we're going to have to live with that. Please don't focus on that. Focus on, it does say 9mm, blank bottom. Actually, it says Cal 9mm, so that's kind of cool. Nickeled magazine. It does have the early dish toggle. And you can see that it doesn't have a lot of the exterior serial numbers because it didn't go to the military. It was sold commercially, and so the emphasis was on beauty, whereas the military one's emphasis on utility. You can see the finish is almost perfect. I'd say 98, 99%. They only made about 250, so extremely rare. Notice the straw, small parts, straw color. They're extremely rare, made about 250, and these sell, I see them sell in the 10,000 to 20,000 range, and this one is among the best I've ever seen. Now next I'm going to go to Krieghoffs, but I'm going to skip the line a little bit because this is probably the best of the Krieghoffs, meaning the most complete set. Somebody put their initials in there, looks like RW, but black holster with black stitching. This is a Krieghoff holster. The best way to tell, in most of the military holsters, you'll see the maker on the back, you'll see a Waffen stamp, and you'll see a date. In this, you don't see any of that. It should be blank, other than the embellishment, scratching. Black with black stitching, all Krieghoff so far. But the telltale sign that is a Krieghoff is there is a Krieghoff stamp right there. There you see the initials RK and WE. This looks like a combination of RW. So somebody was very confused about their name. Maybe it's like pronouns. They had several that they used. I've gotten pretty woke on this video so far. There is no tool included, but here's the dream come true. It has two matching magazines, so we should show you that. Here's the gun. It is a 1936 Krieghoff. It actually, we had a picture of this on our newsletter. We announced that it was coming out, and we probably had a dozen people who said, I want the two match mag Krieghoff. So we are going to, we set a price. We're not going to jack up the price, but we'll do a drawing to see who the lucky winner is on this. It does have the Krieghoff toggle. I mentioned 1936, comes in 9mm. Now, these were all issued to the Luftwaffe officers. A lot of times people will say it either went to a pilot or a paratrooper, but in truth, the only thing we could say is we know it went to a Luftwaffe officer, which makes it kind of cool. The finish is unique. You can see it has more of a polished finish here, and then a dull finish in the ear, but around the ear, shinier. It's just a beautifully done gun, and the production numbers were really low. 1936, I think there's about 1,500 of that variation made. Those are the Luftwaffe proofs right there. There's the back strap, absolutely beautiful. I'd rate this gun probably 98%. Only wear a little bit here and here. Front strap. Let's do the two match magazines. There's the two magazines. You can see 6.3, 6.8, and then it'll have an upside down L2 Krieghoff proof here and here. So it is upside down. Actually, I have this book and it goes through a lot of the details, but in some variations, the Krieghoff stamp is right side up, sometimes they're upside down. There's a lot of nuance every year, and they made a very limited number every year. So that's why collectors like these so much. They're all very unique, and the prices just keep going up. So we can see 2 matching magazines with this beautiful 1936 Krieghoff. And again, it comes with this original Krieghoff holster. Comes together as a rig, and we will have to do a drawing to see who gets this one. Okay, now we're going to move along a little more quickly with these remaining Lugers. A couple more Krieghoffs. Here's 2 1937s. You see the Krieghoff toggle. You see the 1937 at the receiver. Both of these would be in 9mm, and they're in similar condition. This one is a little bit nicer, and therefore probably priced a little bit higher. This one does have some unusual wear, meaning usually the wear would look like this, where you can see where the holster rubbed here and here. The unusual wear is things like that, where it scraped up against something. This is unusual wear. That almost looks like something spilled. Whenever you see that, people say, oh, that's a blood stain. I took it from a dead SS officer. But in this case, it would be a dead Luftwaffe officer. I don't know what caused that, but that is unusual wear. The front straps, let's look at both of them. Front straps, this one is a little bit nicer. Barrels, this one is a little bit nicer. Back strap, they're about the same. You hear about the thumb print. Here and here you can barely see the thumbprint. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. Unless you own a Krieghoff, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. I don't know how or why they did those thumbprints, but that's unique to the Krieghoff. Now, one more detail would be the magazines. I've been saying all along this one is a little bit better, but what helps this one is this one has a matching magazine. You can see 7735 and an upside down Krieghoff proof. And here, 7735, and there are the Krieghoff proofs here. This one is not matching, but it's close. So the gun is 8654 here, and by the way, they also have it here. But the magazine is close, but 8455, so just a little bit off upside down Krieghoff stamp. From the 2 1937s, we next are going to take a look at 2 1940s. Now, the 1940s are a lot more desirable. They made far fewer. They only made a few hundred. And by 1940, the war had started, whereas the 36 and the 37, they were made before the war, distributed before the war. And some people say, well, I want a wartime. Technically, they're all wartime, but even more technically, these were made when the firing and the bombing and the actual war was declared. So again, you see the Krieghoff toggles. This one is not as nice. The finish has started to turn a strong patina color, which is like that brown rust under the finish. You can see the patina color through here, whereas this one still has a beautiful blued finish. So this one's a little nicer. This one also has a matching mag. So we see 10740 here. You also notice the Black Widow grips. They're actually not Black Widow, but it's a Krieghoff black grip. And here's the matching magazine, 10740. And then the Krieghoff stamp above the serial number, you'll notice that is a Krieghoff stamp, but now in 1940, it's right side up. You can see how it's confusing, and if you're buying something, there's rules, and then there's exceptions to the rules. So you have to be very careful when you're spending this much money. How much are Krieghoffs? Certainly with a matching mag, they're in the 10,000 range, but some of them can be 18, 20,000. These go for a lot of money. So very prized by collectors. You really need to make sure you deal with somebody who's reputable and will stand behind everything they sell. Okay, now let's compare it to this one, which I already said. You can see the brown patina throughout. And by the way, 10703. So it's fairly, they were born probably the same week. But in this case, see the grip, this grip. Look at the edge around the grip. It's different than the edge around this grip. So this, I think, was a replacement grip because this one looks exactly the same. This one is a little bit different. I have seen these before, so it is just a different style of grip. But the fact that this one has the thicker edge around and this one the thinner, probably one of the grips cracked and it was replaced later. So this has a couple of issues, and then it does not have a Krieghoff magazine, but it does have a Black Widow or Black Bakelite magazine, which is just a later magazine. It's not the magazine that was issued with the gun, and probably this is not the grip, or this is not the grip. One of these was not issued with the gun. This one looks a little more worn, and the gun looks a little bit more worn. So it's possible this is the original grip and this was the replacement. But it's worth mentioning. Now you see the fire blue here versus the yellow. That's all correct. You can see the Krieghoff stamps are actually slightly different than the previous Krieghoff stamps. This one has the white wax in it, so it's a little easier to see. But the stamps are the same between these two. Again, this is going to be a little more expensive, and it is a rare 1940. And why don't I just give you the prices? Because YouTube doesn't like it when I sell guns online. So this is purely educational purposes only. We certainly don't want to sell any of these. We just want to educate you. Okay, these next two Lugers are pretty exciting. They're both Mausers. You see S42, S42. You can see that Gothic S versus the more contemporary S. This tells me it's early and it's a K date. Now, K dates, everybody gets excited about K dates. Remember how I said there's going to be a drawing? This K date, I'm going to get a bunch of people who want it. This is among the best K dates I've ever seen. They only made, well, let me back up. K date stood for 1934, and that was the first year of production for the military. And so the K date contract was the first contract for the military. They only made 11,000, about 11,000. So these were all made for the German army. They were all issued. They beat them up. A lot of them went to the Eastern Front. So whenever you see a K date, it's often really beat up in bad condition, or it's been refinished. This is all original and just a beautiful example. This is a G date, which is 1935. So 1934, 1935. These they made about 55,000, so a lot more, 11,000 versus 55,000. G date, I mentioned 1935. And then after that, 1936, Hitler didn't care anymore. The codes were to keep the information from the inspectors, the Treaty of Versailles inspectors. They kept information, so they use a code. They use a code for the factory. They use a code for the date. 1936, they didn't care anymore. They just put the date on it. And so from 36 to 42, they will be dated. They still will have different codes. Now let's take a closer look at these two. This is the rarer gun, as I already mentioned. So let's take a look. You can see how beautiful the straw is, the finish. This is starting to turn a little bit of patina, and that's probably because the finish that was put on the side plate wasn't done as well. So this wore off first. It's very common. It was part of the manufacture. This has turned kind of a brown patina. You see the S, which is an inspector proof. They're all over the place. You see an S here. You see an S here. You see an S here, you see an S here, you see an S here. They're all everywhere. If you take the toggle off, you'll see the hold open has an S, the firing pin has an S. The grips are numbered to the gun, and most importantly, and this is hardly ever seen, the magazine is matching to the gun. It has a unique B90 proof right here, and that'll go with the military proof on the side. Right here, you can see a B90 proof along with other proofs. You see the S, again, you see the S, inspector proof, S, S, S. So K dates are fun to collect. They're full of history. They have all kinds of markings that are really important. After the first year of production, they stopped doing all of that. They didn't have codes on every single part, but the K date is very desirable to collectors, can be very expensive. I actually have a Navy K date with 2 matching magazines that I've turned down $25,000 for. So that one is with me, and please don't ask me if it's for sale. It is not. This K date will get a lot of attention. It went to the German Army. Now let's go to the G date, because this, while this is not as rare, this actually is a Navy. Now, I always call this the funky chicken, but that's supposed to be a German eagle with an M, which stands for Marine or Kriegsmarine. So this went to the German Navy. It went to N, the North Sea, and there's the property mark. So this is a very rare Navy, and it is all matching except for the magazine. Magazine is a later magazine, but this gun is all matching G Date Navy, also very hard to find. You can see that a lot of the finish is worn off the back strap and the front strap, and if we compared, you can see how this one is more worn, this one is just patina, but still, these are in remarkable condition considering their age. And bear in mind, this went to sea, probably exposed to salt air, salty hands, and that's why these tend to be worn. Let's look at the production numbers. A quick look at this book. Again, if you're looking at the Krieghoffs and you want to, here's the Krieghoffs and how many were made. There were 7,000 of these variations. But if we go to K Date, we can see there are 11,500 of them made. And then G Date, we can see that the Army got 55,000. The Kriegsmarine Navy, there was only 774 made. So this gives you, this chart will give you the production numbers. And before you go out and buy guns, you probably should buy a gun like this where you can kind of look up what the proof mark should be, what the production was, how rare, things like that. These kinds of resources come in very handy. Okay, I have two more Lugers to show you. Both of them are Mausers, but very different. This is actually dated 1941, and it's unusual because it's a dark brown. By 1941, there is an edict that officers, people carrying the German Luger or the P-38, the leather should be black. Now, that wasn't the first day of 41, so there were some, early on in 41, there was some brown. Many of those were then dyed black to comply with the new edict and so the uniforms would all be uniform. This dark brown holster is a rare holster for 41, and when we open up, we do see a tool. It's blank, but there is the Luger tool. Blank Luger tool, so probably a replacement. And inside, we have a Black Widow Luger. So this is not exceptionally rare, but BYF is the factory code, 41 is the year. There's a couple, remember I talked about unusual wear. There's something bumped it here. This is normal wear, high spot wear. Look at that, that's all normal wear. Front strap is nice, back strap is nice. We sell Black Widows almost every week of the year, and this one will be going on the website. It's just, the only reason it's noteworthy is, while it's in beautiful condition, it came from the Robert Saltsman Collection, and it does come with this very rare 41 dated dark brown holster. And speaking of dark brown, the same was not true of the police. The police, there was no edict. They do have black, they have tan, they have dark brown, they have like a coffee color. So this holster, dated 1942, with the Police Eagle. Now, what I like to say about the Police Eagle is that it has the stubby wings. That's one of the ways I can tell the difference. It has a stubby wing versus this military Eagle. The wings are just a little bit wider. It's just a nuance, but noteworthy. The other thing about the Police Lugers, the military ones fold, the strap folds down, whereas here the strap folds up or connects going up, and this is a mint holster. I've seen mint holsters like this go for $1,000. This comes as a complete rig. The tool, this is police, because the holster is police, and we're going to look at the gun, which will be police. It has a police marked tool, Eagle L, and the gun's going to be Eagle L. Remember, the holster was 42. Here you see a small date, 1942. Mauser banner. They typically only use the Mauser banner for police Lugers or commercial Lugers. This does have the sear safety. This thing is in incredible condition. See, this is the way it looked the day it came out of the factory. And by the way, when dealing with police Lugers, they often are in much better condition because the police, by and large, were not in foxholes overnight, not in the rain and the snow and crawling around on their belly. These often were in much better shape. There is the Eagle L. It's a very light stamp, but again, the tool was Eagle L marked, and this has a matching magazine. 3178, 3178. It does come with a second Police magazine, but this one is close to matching, but not matching. So you have the spare magazine, the tool, and then the gun itself. So this is just another example of a beautiful gun from 1942, issued to the German police. Well, thanks for watching this third video. I think I could squeeze one more out of it, and then we'll be done with the Robert Saltsman collection. However, I got a couple of comments from some of you who really like the idea of actually creating your own legacy by doing a video of this is my collection. Robert was a pretty private collector, and a lot of people say, who is this guy? We never heard of him. It's kind of nice to get your name out there and show off your collection, especially if it's a lifelong collection. And so kudos to Robert, but also thought for the day. You might think about doing something similarly rather than leaving it to your heirs to deal with your treasures. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel because we've got a lot more coming your way.